Hello, we're here at OFC in San Diego. I'm Phil Harvey, editor at Light Reading, and I'm here with David from Preciseley Microtechnology Corp.
You got it.
I was calling it PMC, and I stopped myself and read it right from the sign.
That's good, but I referred to it as PMC just to make it easier.
So first of all, give us an idea of what the company does and what your size is for those of us who aren't keeping up with the optical components race.
Sure, so Preciseley Microtechnology Corporation was founded in 2006. We've been around for about 16 years now. The primary market we serve is optical communications. Okay. So we sell into optical components and modules that are used primarily in 5G telecommunications infrastructure and data center networking equipment. So our primary business has been in that area, but now there's a lot of excitement around optical MEMS technology going into new areas of primarily 3D sensing type applications. Mm-hmm. And so we're starting to attract interest in those kind of applications from customers.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's not a, the telecom space, cyclical, it ebbs and flows. It obviously has a bright future ahead of it because no one can get enough connectivity, and that sort of thing. But in your space, you've made bets in a bunch of different MEMS-related areas, micro, electro, mechanical, mirrors.
Yep.
What sort of prompted market entry into some of these newer spaces, like 3D sensing is a great one to talk about because that also hinges on connectivity.
Yeah, so if you think about kind of the key industry megatrends that we're experiencing in the technology industry today, there's one around kind of 5G communications, mm-hmm. wireless and the wired infrastructure supporting it. There's another around data centers, and some of that trend was accelerated by the pandemic with the need for e-commerce, remote work, remote education, video streaming and entertainment. So kind of insatiable demand for content and to serve it through the data centers. There's a trend towards vehicle autonomy and electrification. Yeah. And so on the autonomy side, that requires more sensors in the vehicle of multiple modalities. So you have your cameras that go into the vehicle and multiple cameras. You have your radar that goes in primarily for things like adaptive cruise. And then you have your LiDAR, which is another sensor modality that involves our type of products. And the final area is more the AR, VR aspect, or thinking about the emerging metaverse.
Yeah.
And that's an area where you're either scanning the environment to understand for mixed reality type applications, and then you're projecting what you see onto a smart glass or some other type of device for people to interact with.
Just so folks know, how far apart are the application for scanning and sort of sensing, 3D sensing, how far apart is that application from what's being done in a 5G network in terms of the component itself?
Yeah, so it's interesting because same fundamental MEMS mirror technology is used in it from a scanning perspective, but in optical communications, we're typically dealing with smaller diameter mirrors that have to work within a telecom environment. As we go into areas of 3D sensing like an automotive application, that now is requiring a larger mirror aperture. They're dealing with different types of lasers to be able to scan the environment. They want to be able to scan long range or long distance. And so typically they're looking for a larger diameter mirror, and then it varies in terms of scanning frequency. As you go into something like 3D scanning around smart glasses, projection, heads-up display systems, they typically use smaller mirrors. But they want to work at very high frequencies. Right. So the mirror is moving rapidly across the environment to be able to scan it or project the image that you want to display. So same foundational technology, but how you actuate it, how you control it, and the size and dimensions of mirrors change considerably between the different applications.
What's the thing in the telecom and sort of service provider space? What's affecting your business there the most right now? Is it supply chain stuff, demand in general, or is there some other kind of competitive aspect?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned earlier in our conversation, there's kind of strong growth rates in optical communications feeding into data center and telecommunications infrastructure, but it's the ability of some of our customers to be able to source complete BOMs to build their systems. Okay. So in particular, there's still supply shortages and constraints around semiconductors. And although that started 18 months ago, new capacity is coming online.
Right.
But new applications are also using more semiconductors.
Okay.
So you think about the automobile, today I'm not sure if they're able to build any more vehicles than they were 12 months ago, even though there's more capacity coming online because the newer vehicles are using more semiconductor content.
Okay.
And so that's one of the areas that's eating up the new capacity coming online, and it's taking some time for the semiconductor vendors to be able to catch up. This year, I think we're still going to see tightness in the supply chain probably through the end of the year. And then maybe all the investment made over the last 2 years, we start to catch up to demand out in 2023.
And just so everybody knows where you guys are in the ecosystem, you're a fabless provider, so you're not manufacturing the semiconductors yourself. You're sending the designs to the foundries to manufacture.
Right. So we do optical MEMS design and development. We work with foundry partners that do the manufacturing on the front end, and then we actually do some of the quality control inspection post-fab. So we have that source of it, and then our devices go into both active and passive optical components and modules.
Do you guys, get nervous when you see the amount of optical component technology vendors consolidating? That seems to have been, it's always been a story in this market, but it seems like it's been a more pronounced and more kind of frantic story in the last couple of markets.
So what's been interesting is, obviously there's been continued consolidation in the industry, but I have a background coming into this industry from areas like computers, smartphones, other areas where they started with tens of companies or hundreds of companies, and now it's consolidated down to just a handful.
Right.
And so this industry is far from getting to that level. I think we'll see continued consolidation in the industry for companies to be able to build out more of a solutions approach, to offer more of the systems integration. But there's still a long ways to go before we look anything like the memory industry or maybe the smartphone industry with 5 or 6 vendors remaining.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's still way too many booths in this trade show for it to look like the smartphone industry in particular.
That's right.
David, thanks so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Phil. Appreciate it.